was hired, he was rated as the worst coaching hire by a lot of freak out there. This past offseason, some clown named told him that he was the least qualified head coach in the
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of Blessed Total Access. Today's episode, Season 1 Playoffs Review. First up, we got the wild card matchup between Bowski's Dolphins and the Tennesseans Colts. With Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton both injured, the Tennesseans starts Jacoby Brissett. He throws 3 interceptions and no touchdowns. For the Dolphins, Khalfani Muhammad ends up with 107 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Jerome Baker, Defensive Player of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year for the AFC, ends up with only 1 tackle, so that was quite surprising. Devontae Parker, AFC Wide Receiver of the Year, ends up with 1 touchdown. It was a tight game in the first half, but in the third, the Dolphins started pulling away and the Tennesseans Colts never really got back into it. In the NFC, we had a matchup between Chuck's Eagles and Kumar's Rams. The Rams came into the game without Todd Gurley. He was injured, so they had to rely on Jared Goff. The Eagles forced him to throw 5 picks, sacked him 5 times. Carson Wentz finished with 117 rushing yards compared to the Rams' 7 total rushing yards. In our other NFC matchup, we have Imran's Falcons versus Randy's Redskins. Matt Ryan ended the game with 3 picks. Deshaun Kaiser went 15 for 11 for only 110 yards. No picks, but no touchdowns. Christian Thompson, running back with the highest per carry average on the team, ended up with only 2 carries. Tack McKinley ended up with 4 sacks and a forced fumble, successfully shutting down the Redskins' passing offense. So basically, the defense played well for the Redskins, forced the turnovers they needed, but in the end it was the Redskins' offense that was too conservative and allowed the Falcons to come away with the victory. In the first matchup of the divisional round, we had Ravens, my team, against Bowski's Dolphins. The AFC Wide Receiver of the Year, Devontae Parker, ended the game with 94 yards and 1 touchdown, while Lamar Jackson on the Ravens side ended with 1 touchdown to each Martavis Bryant and Brashad Perriman. The Ravens defense ended with 3 interceptions and 2 sacks, while Jerome Baker ended his second postseason games with a total of 2 tackles. That would make 2 career playoff tackles for the Defensive Player of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year on the AFC. So cause for concern, maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see in the future. The Ravens took control of the game early and pretty much held on until the end. Almost let it slip away at the end with a few picks, but the Ravens managed to settle down and move on to the next round. In an NFC divisional matchup, we had Imran's Falcons against Wade's Vikings. This game was a huge game for rookie wide receiver Calvin Ridley, who ended with 125 yards and 1 TD. The NFC Wide Receiver of the Year, Stephon Diggs, ended with 8 receptions and 149 yards for 1 touchdown. On defense, it was Vic Beasley that stood out with 4 sacks. The Falcons' defense ended with 8 total sacks, and behind the big plays of rookie wide receiver Ridley, they were able to move past the Vikings. In our last NFC divisional matchup, we had Chuck's Eagles against Meteor's 49ers. The Eagles ended the game with 116 rushing yards to the 49ers' 14 rushing yards. The NFC Offensive Player of the Year, Jimmy G, threw 3 picks in the game, and it was basically a tight game all along, but Alshon Jeffrey's big plays allowed the Eagles to pull away and move on to the next round. For the AFC Championship, we have my Ravens against Brent's Chargers. Geno Smith came out onto the field, threw 3 passes, 2 of them were intercepted. Jatavis Brown ended with 2 interceptions, while the Ravens defense ended with 7 sacks and 2 picks. The Ravens basically took early control of this game and held on until the end for a trip to the Super Bowl. Finally, we had the Super Bowl, highly anticipated match between my Ravens and Chuck's Eagles. Lamar Jackson finished the game with 46 passing yards and 3 interceptions, while Carson Wentz finished with 350 total yards and 3 touchdowns. Jay Ajayi finished with 99 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Alshon Jeffrey finished with 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Eagles came prepared and were hitting on all cylinders. The Ravens' defense had no answer, and their offense never got into gear. The game ended 38-0 in favor of Chuck's Eagles, and he is now the Madden 19 Blessed Season 1 Super Bowl champion.